Oops, muted myself. Greetings, YouTube. It's Train Maxer once again. Back again. We got another Taco Tuesday. Got a few videos here. First one is this older gentleman. He's talking to some passport bros. He's got some advice for y'all. So let's hear what he has to say. And he's responding to Filipina P. I kind of like her channel because she's over there in the Philippines talking about passport bros too. Oops, I didn't like it. There we go. This channel is called Ask an Older Man, which is a good thing to do if you're not an older man. All right, I dropped the link to this video if you want to check this guy out. Facts. Facts. I mean, that's true. I mean, it's not like you can just pack up and go to another country. You got to plan it out. You can't just I got my passport, I got my plane ticket, I'm out of here. You got to plan it out. Dubai, huh? That's a interesting place to move. Wonder what he does for a living. Or I should say what he did for a living. He looks like he's retired. Dubai's interesting place to pick to move to. For a guy, anyway. Just as I just supported this video, Ask an Older Man's channel, by dropping the link to this video. So if you want to check this video out yourself, maybe respond to it, maybe see what else he's got on here, you can do that. Always a good idea if you're responding to another content creator. It's probably a good form to at least drop the link to the video so people know the source material you're responding to. Should I blow the screen up here? Just flip it. Does it make it bigger? No, it doesn't make it bigger. Oh, there it is. What the fuck? Get the fuck out of here with that weird ad. I hate those ads. I really, that's why I don't want ads on my channel, because you can't control the ads that get put on your channel. And man, and I had to full screen it right before that. Son of a bitch. She's right on that. There is no perfect place on Earth. Everywhere does have its issues. Grass always looks greener on the other side of the fence, and you get there and it's maybe not quite as green as you thought it was. Just saying. That's true. I know Sir Yetis is always saying good things about the Philippines. He said he was over there talking about getting that 88-cent beer and having a good time with a lady over there. So, why you don't want to retire in the Philippines, huh? It seems like that's what you would do. You would retire there. Because I don't think you'd be making much money over there, just going over there unless you had an online thing going on. Greetings, Hoe Cake. Welcome to the channel. Let's continue. Well, I mean, that's kind of what happened with California. Everybody flocked to California because the weather was so great and all this stuff. And California's a shithole now. Everybody's leaving. Like, we're literally like losing congressional seats because so many people are leaving. Like, nobody wants to stay here. Yeah, and it used to be where everybody came. Everybody used to come here because, oh, the weather's great. Oh, it's the land of milk and honey. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And it's not anymore. And it's sad. He's talking about Cayman Island. I thought he was talking about the Philippines there for a minute. I've never heard the Philippines of being low crime rate. Um, I've heard crime can be kind of high there in certain areas. He was talking about his home, the Cayman Islands. All right, go on. Yep. He's right about if everybody's moving somewhere, the prices go up. Joker was talking about this the other day. Better Bachelor. He was talking about. I think he said something like it was, I don't know, like 40,000 to buy all the land he has currently. He's got like 25 acres, and now he went to look at 4 more acres, and it's like $600,000 for 4 acres because of all the people that are moving there to where he's at. I mean, I don't know if he paid 40,000. I could be misremembering what he said, but it was a big difference in price. It's shot way up where he's living at. It's way more than he paid for way less land, and I think that's in Tennessee or Kentucky or somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where he's at. Anyway, somewhere I was kind of looking at maybe moving, but if the prices are like that, I can't afford that. That's just insane. That's facts. You got to see the bad and the good. It's not all good anywhere. It's not all bad anywhere, but it's not all good anywhere either. That's absolutely true. Some good advice from both of these folks here. And I got this stream pulled up on my phone. I've got it muted so it's not creating the echo from hell. Yeah, I'm just making sure that keep up with the chat if there's anything in the chat, and also make sure that the stream is still going, because copyright strikes and all can occur sometimes. I mean, Dubai has its own dark side that's pretty well discussed in the manosphere that I don't feel like talking about that right now. So it doesn't sound like he was. It doesn't sound like he and his wife encountered that. They just kind of saw the glitz and the glamour and all the new modern buildings and all the modern conveniences and stuff that Dubai does have. But Dubai does have its dark side as well that I'm not going to discuss here right now. Yep. Yeah. Uh-huh. Agreed. Allegedly, allegedly. One thing I have noticed about YouTubers that do show their faces is you can definitely tell when they've made a cut in their video, because like their face will like kind of jump around and stuff. That's one advantage I do have not showing my face, although I do tend to have tickers up, so you can kind of still see it a little bit, but it's not quite as noticeable. Some of my earlier streams I had music in the background, so you could kind of notice it if the music kind of jumped around a little bit. But yeah, because I don't show my face, it's kind of hard to tell where I've made edits, because sometimes there's long like pauses, or I really misspeak, I really mispronounce something, I really butcher a name or something, and I just like, okay, I'm just gonna pull this, just cut it out, and when I do edit this, whenever I get around to editing it, because editing on the equipment I have is, well, it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do. Wish it was, but I digress. Here we go. So there you go. If you want to live comfortably in the Philippines, you got to plan on 1,000 to 1,200. This is according to the Filipina P, who's a local over there. Speed it up a little bit. Yeah. How old is this video? Just out of curiosity, I'm wondering how old this video is. Oh, 2 weeks old. Okay. He was talking about the economic downturn. I was thinking, when was that? Is it he's talking about 2008 or what? Let's see. I don't think he's talking about 2008. Would that be 2008? Little math here. $2009. Okay, I was close. He's talking about 2009. Yeah, there was kind of a recession going on. Yeah, I was just trying to remember. Yeah, there was a bit of an economic downturn for sure going on back then. That was when there was all that like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all that stuff. Weird names that the government gave to these big loan companies, and those companies should have been allowed to fail, but they were getting bailed out, I think is what was going on. But anyway, they didn't fail, and we're having going to be having a even worse recession when it finally when that bubble finally pops. But not financial advice, just saying. Yeah, maybe they went out of business because they had 5 Hummers they didn't need. just just a thought. I mean, yeah, the Hummer is an expensive vehicle. Yeah. Get to the Hummer, do it now. Yeah. Damn, Hummers must be really cheap over there because I mean, the Hummer was way more expensive than a normal car when they came out over here. That's pretty good advice. If you're going to move somewhere, you need to think like that because, you know, unless you have like an online job or something, or you're on a fixed income, like you're getting Social Security or something. I mean, your pension, something like that. Um, you're not going to make a living over there as a plumber or whatever because, you know, they don't make hardly anything over there. So, you know, if you're living like a local, you're not going to make a living over there. At least you're not going to make a living that, you know, you're going to be comfortable living. If you know what I'm saying. Oh, what I just say? Right? Uh, an art gallery or something. It's like, who are you going to sell that to over there? Who's got money to buy art in the Philippines? I'm just saying, you know, like $20 to them is like a shit ton of money. So yeah, people sell art for, I think, a lot of money over here, but that's just what I observe. And yes, I have been in a position where I have bought art before because I have had surplus money and something in that particular piece of art spoke to me. So I have purchased paintings before. I do have a little bit of culture. Just saying. Hmm. Come on, another one of these? Fuck out of here with this shit. Yeah, if you're going to go over someplace like this, you got to make sure you got good internet and you got to set up a business where you can be making money online. Otherwise, you might want to wait till you're like established, till you've got some businesses or some investments that pay you passive income where you don't have to like constantly manage them. And anyway, take a short break. All right, that video is about halfway done. I could keep watching it. I kind of want to move on to the next topic. Maybe we'll finish that a different stream. Let's see here. Move on to the next topic, I think. Do, 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 do. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about homesteading now, I think.
And see what happens stage.
And the site is live.
That we opened a store and need a fast checkout stage. Thanks. You're all set.
Videos like this that will help keep your garden going, even if we're not able to go out and get things from the store like we're used to. So if that...
Oh, wait. It's way... Hold on a minute. Was there even any sound, I wonder? Did I accidentally not share the sound? I'll have to go back and look at that. I sure hope I shared the sound. I thought I did, but all right, we're going to talk a little bit about homesteading now. This is something I've done before, this particular video. All right, this current video. All right, let's watch it.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to make liquid organic fertilizer for free. Seriously, you don't need to buy anything. This is going to be a recurring theme over the next few months. There are so many ways to make free fertilizer from stuff you already have at home. This is going to be the last of our 4-week kickoff to our Garden for Free series. We will be doing monthly check-ins to see the growth, new planting, and of course, harvesting. See, right now we've got lots of germination happening. And then from time to time, we'll be checking in.
Now you notice, you see any bare dirt there? There's a lot of mulch. There's a lot of mulch on that garden where his plants are, because that's not natural in nature to have bare dirt. That's strange. It doesn't occur. Nature abhors a vacuum.
And then from time to time, we'll be checking in, doing videos like this, free hacks and things to keep your garden growing without spending any more money. So let's get into how to make free fertilizer from weeds. It's a weedy time of year here. In fact, it's the most weedy time of year here. Winter rains and the weather warming up always create a lot of work at this time of year. Less this year since I have a new weed eater. Let's take a look at the finished product and then I'll show you how to make it. The best time of year to make this is when the weeds start growing. It takes about 8 weeks to brew this cocktail, and in about 8 weeks, your plants are going to be ready for some fertilizer. This is the finished product.
Yep, I've made
but
this
I will
before.
warn you, this stuff is free and it's easy, but I don't think there's anything that smells worse than this.
Yep.
As bad as it smells, it's so full
I
of
can confirm that. I've made this for my garden before. This stuff smells absolutely disgusting. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, how bad it smells. The words cannot describe how nasty this stuff smells. But makes the plants grow like crazy. So,
of nutrients that your plants are going to soak up and use to provide you with tons of produce throughout the summer. So you're going to need a bucket or a container of some kind, and you need weeds. And we're going to look for a wide...
Good thing is plants don't have a sense of smell, so they really don't care about this nasty fertilizer stuff you're putting on them. So just saying.
variety. You don't even have to know the types. However, if you have comfrey or nettles, those are really the best you can get. I'm actually going to plant some in an out-of-the-way place to grow and produce for me for this specific reason. But right now I don't have those two, and you may not either. So we're going to just go around and pick or pull up as many types of weeds as we can find. Each weed pulls different nutrients from the soil in different amounts and stores them in the plant tissue.
One thing I've found is a good way to make this particular fertilizer, stuff that you can't just compost, like blackberries, like English ivy, stuff like that. If you were to try and compost that, unless your pile was like really super hot, that stuff starts to grow and it gets little roots going, and you end up with a bunch of briars growing out of your compost pile, which nobody wants that.
And each weed concentrates different nutrients, so choosing a wide variety will give us a good balance of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, as well as trace minerals.
You put weeds like that into this particular mixture and they don't have a chance to grow because I think it's because it's an anaerobic environment. There's a lack of oxygen or something, and for whatever reason, they don't grow. They just start to deteriorate. The constant being in the water, it starts to break down the cell walls of the plant. And like he said, it takes about 8 weeks to make this batch, this type of fertilizer.
You might want to avoid poison ivy and poison oak for obvious reasons.
You want
Once
to
you have your
avoid
bucket full,
that stuff.
compress it down and fill it up some more if needed until you have the filled bucket 3/4 full of compressed weeds. Fill it with water.
Poison oak and poison ivy. you wanna get goats to deal with that. Goats, for whatever reason, can eat that stuff. So that's what you do with that. You let the goats have that.
And cover it. And again, we're going to let this putrefy, and that's a great word for it.
That's the perfect
We're going to let
word
it sit for 6 to 8 weeks. The longer it sits, the better it gets. So then we get
That's probably the word I was looking for, and I couldn't think of earlier. Yeah, putrid. That's a good word to describe the smell of this stuff.
to this point right here: brown, gross, and smelly.
Yep.
Now, before I show you how to use it, I want to make a really exciting announcement. How many of you,
Hi, Doses, pay
let me know in the
attention to me,
comments,
bud.
how many of you were with me in 2020? And if you were, do you remember Self-Sufficient Sunday? We're bringing it back bigger and better than before. Starting next Sunday, we're going to be showing you every Sunday how to become more self-sufficient, whether you live in an apartment, a regular house, or if you have an acre or more. That will include videos like this that will help keep.
That sounds interesting. I don't know how you would be self-sufficient in an apartment, but I'm gonna have to check that out. What's this guy's Next Level Gardening? That's the name of this guy's channel. I'll have to check that out. That sounds interesting. I don't live in an apartment, but still, I'm curious. I'm intrigued.
Keep your garden going, even if we're not able to go out and get things from the store like we're used to. So if that sounds exciting, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell for notifications. Now back to our wonderfully stinky mess. Oh, so good to be back. You cannot use this full strength. You can tell by the look, the smell, and the bubbles that this is a very concentrated brew. You need to dilute this to around 1 part fertilizer to 10 parts water. And you want it to end up the color of really weak tea. This
I didn't
works
bother.
well as a foliar feed and a root feed. It's a great.
I did like 1 part water and 1 part that, and it was fine. It didn't seem to affect the plants.
Fertilizer for young plants.
Of course, I didn't concentrate it down like he did. He had that bucket. He was pressing it down. I just kind of loosely packed it in there and let her rip. I didn't really worry too much about it.
Plants, and for plants starting to put blooms and fruit on. Remember, this fertilizer gets better and better with time, and it never goes bad. So always keep some coming along. How much money do you think you're going to save with that? For other ideas on free
I
fertilizer,
want to say where I learned this technique. I don't remember what video it was, but it was a Korean method of agriculture. It's something that they've been doing for thousands of years over in Korea. And I wish I remembered what video that was, but that's where I got the idea from. I didn't get it from this guy. It's interesting when you're doing something homesteading and you see somebody else talking about it. It's like, yeah, okay, I can co-sign everything this guy's saying. I've done that.
fertilizers, or for the best purchase fertilizers, if you don't have time or you don't want to deal with the aroma, click on this video right here. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, that's the end of that one, looks like. All right, what next? Let's see here. Got one more homesteading one. Where is it? Come on. What are we doing? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Is that it? That's it. Oh, this is
4
really
years ago, our entire farm looked like this.
But you can't even stick your finger in this stuff.
You can really grow just about anything in any soil. Let's go take a look at the garden, and I'll show you what I've done for the last 4 years to totally transform this place. We're here in my garden in Tennessee at the beginning of the gardening season. I've invited a soil expert, Carson from Redmond Minerals, to come and talk about soil and getting your garden started right. Because the healthiest plants, the most nutritious things that we can feed our families start with the soil, right?
Correct. Let's take a look at your soil.
Let's do it.
Holy cow, Ann. The difference is amazing.
Yeah.
It is completely different than what we were looking at there. This must have taken so much work. How did you do this?
Honestly, I try to be as hands-off with my gardening as possible. And I think the true secret to my laziness is over here. Can I take you on a little field trip?
Yeah, I love field trips.
Let's go. We're in the middle of the forest behind my house. There's daffodils blooming everywhere. This is gorgeous, but far more important than the blooming flowers is actually what's underneath. So if we come down here and just start peeling back, no one is weeding or watering or planting anything here. Nature is just doing what nature does. Like right on top of everything, there's leaves. And you can hear they're crunchy, they're dry. It's obviously not raining in a while, but if we literally just go back, like right under those crunchy leaves is a bunch of other organic material. It's already broken down. It's a little bit moist, but if we keep peeling back the layers here,
And what did I say earlier? That guy I was showing you the last video, all of his garden beds, it was all covered in mulch. It looked like wood chips, but like I said, nature abhors a vacuum. Do you see any bare dirt out here? No, you don't. There's no bare dirt. You want to work with nature when you're trying to live off the land. When you're trying to grow stuff, it's better to work with nature than try and fight it. Just saying.
we soon get to actually some kind of clay soil, similar to the clay we saw in the field, but the difference is that it's wet and that it has life in it.
Yeah, you can see that this is really healthy soil, especially for no one taking care of it. You know, it's just what nature does, is creates healthy soil.
No one is coming out here and putting bags of organic fertilizer. I mean, like, you can even look, like, in these leaves, there's bug holes. Like, no one's out here spraying organic pesticide. And what thrives. I love these daffodils because they literally, like, they spread. Daffodils make bulbs, and then a healthy daffodil plant will make more bulbs. And they literally will force the soil out of the way. And like, you can just literally have runs of miles of daffodils like we have here, which is so dang cool. But amongst the daffodils, we also have...
Well, there you go. Daffodils are helping out with this whole thing. You don't have to do daffodils. You could plant any kind of bulb, really, that grows in your area. Just got to figure out what grows, what thrives, because there's all sorts of different kinds of bulbs you can grow if you're not a fan of daffodils. Daffodils just grow all over most of North America.
Have, you know, other stuff. This guy, again, I just like pulled this right out of the ground, and look at how easily those roots came up out of the soil.
Look at them
Those
roots.
are deep roots that are going to be able to go and get water from deep in the soil, but, like, you know, the soil hasn't compacted around the plant either.
What I love about it is there's so much diversity too in the plants. It might look like we're sitting in a field of daffodils, but you look and there's all sorts of different plants. There's all, you know, it's all covered. It's really amazing.
So, Carson, I am a successful lazy gardener, but you've been on the science side of soil and like conventional farming your entire career. So let's walk around and you can tell me what you see.
Perfect. So, and one of the coolest things that I'm seeing is there's no dirt here, right?
Like, you can't see bare dirt anywhere you
Right?
No,
bare dirt.
If you looked back at what we thought a successful garden would be, it's usually a garden that is like just bare dirt, no weeds, and the plants that you planted in a very specific spot.
Totally.
So that's one of the cool things I'm seeing here in the forest. I don't see dirt.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what you think of when you think of a garden usually, is you think of bare dirt and just what few plants you planted there. But yeah, doesn't look anything like a garden, does it?
There's ground cover everywhere.
Yeah, and that just literally happens naturally. Like, here we're under trees where the leaves fall down, and that creates natural mold. So like here, it's like, yeah, there may be nothing growing right now, but you literally have to peel back layers to where you can then see bare soil. But what's wild is that, like, if I expose this soil and we walk away and we leave it, nature will heal itself without me.
It's crazy. And one of the other things that's really cool that I'm seeing, if you look here, there's so much going on that's going to be maybe even hard to see on the camera, but there's little bugs moving around, you know, and that's usually what we're doing in gardens. We're trying to get rid of every bug, you know, or every sign of life. This is amazing, the things that nature's doing here.
Yeah, here's a snail slip shell. In conventional gardening, I would be like, get out of here.
Right. What kind of chemical could we put on you to make sure you're gone, right?
Exactly. But the thing is that in nature, every pest plays a part.
Right. Every insect, every bacteria, every fungus has a purpose.
Yeah.
And so trying to
I'm curious what purpose a snail would serve in your garden other than causing problems, but I guess something's going to eat it. A bird or something.
to like get rid of it might not be the best solution. It might be like, let's fix the problem.
Yeah. First of all, like, water evaporation off the soil. Like, the reason we have to water our gardens, I don't, by the way, is because, like, we've created bare soil, and water evaporates off of bare soil so quickly. But, like, literally all you have to do is just cover it up with some leaves or mulch of some kind, and then it will keep the sun from directly beating down on that black surface and evaporating the moisture off the surface.
And I've done this before too. This does work. I've done this in my garden beds before. This works. Leaves or cut grass, Cut grass can be a problem if it's got seed heads on it, because then it will try and grow. But if it's young grass that hasn't gone to seed yet, yeah, kind of leave it out there, and don't put it too thick because it can kind of get matted up, but it dries pretty quick if it's thin enough. And then leaves, for sure. Leaves are definitely a good mulch to use.
So again, does my garden look like something from Better Homes and Garden? Absolutely not. But I'm growing enough food for 2 families in a tiny amount of space, literally because I've learned how to work with the pests instead of even thinking that they're pests.
It's pretty cool.
So knowing more about your background too, you used to do like chemical spraying and everything like that, and you've since kind of like changed your tune. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. When I used to work in that industry, we always focused more on inputs and taking care of things and killing the things we don't want.
And by inputs, you mean like chemical fertilizers?
Chemical fertilizer, chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, any kind of sides, as Will Winters would say, right? So instead of doing that, I've now taken the approach of like, let's fix the soil, and then everything will actually fix itself.
Yeah.
And I've had way more success with that. And I think it's actually a better way to live your life. Instead of worrying about like killing everything, let's worry about healing everything.
I love that. I think like the words bacteria and
That's a good perspective to have on it, I think.
Fungus have such a negative connotation in our language, but truly, it is literally by learning how to use bacteria and fungus to our advantage instead of actually just sterilizing everything that actually makes this stuff work. And let's walk and talk here, because I'm looking for.
Yeah, speaking of fungus, now I'm only very amateur level of interest in mycology. I'm just barely know anything about anything. I would not trust myself to identify any wild mushroom at this point. But one thing I do know about it is that the mushroom itself, the fungus itself, the mycorrhizae is what it's called often. A lot of times it forms a symbiotic relationship with trees or with other plants. And in exchange for some of the sugar the tree makes, it will get more water because it's like roots. It's like an extension of the roots almost. And so it will draw more water and more nutrients that the tree can't necessarily access, and it will trade that for the sugar that the tree's making from photosynthesis. So that's a symbiotic relationship. Morel mushrooms, for example, they're like that. There's a lot of mushrooms that do that. A lot of the destroying angel type mushrooms that are super deadly poison, those also tend to be symbiotic relationships with trees. So there's different kinds of mushrooms. There's ones that cooperate with trees. There's ones that infest trees and work on deteriorating them, and there's ones that infest basically dead wood and start deteriorating that. Then there's other kinds of funguses like that infest people and critters and things like that. That's a different kind of fungus, though.
For something in particular.
Okay.
But something that was truly fascinating to me. I've always thought like doubling our yields is going to make us money in the short term. But what I didn't realize until we started talking was how expensive it actually is to add the chemicals or, even organic solutions that will double your yields.
Yeah, it's not cheaper to use the conventional methods. It's cheaper to be a lazy gardener.
Oh, like I have basically nothing in any of my plants or anything. I mean, I'm constantly stealing stuff from the forest and using it at my house.
Right. And even on the time savings, like you're not running a tiller, you're not going to the co-op and buying more chemicals.
I don't have to buy gas for the tiller that I don't use.
It's pretty amazing what you can do when you're just working with nature.
Totally. Cool. Hey, check this out over here. So this is something that I think confuses a lot of beginner gardeners. This looks like soil, right?
Correct.
Like this looks like what, we've learned on YouTube or reading gardening books or anything.
Yeah, it looks a lot like Ace Hardware, just potting mix. It's kind of what it looks like.
This is what like good compost looks like. This looks like black, healthy soil. But there's actually a problem with it. This is actually literally just rotten wood. This is the inside of a log that has decomposed because it's sat here in nature long enough for nature to take its course. So if I were to look at just this.
Yeah, rotten wood is just going to be pretty much carbon. So you want to have a balance of both carbon and nitrogen when you're composting stuff. Because it's the nitrogen that the plants really like. That's one of the main components. Carbon, not so much. Carbon actually, if you put that in the soil, it kind of counteracts sometimes the nitrogen. So yeah, you probably wouldn't want to just use like rotten wood like she's looking at here.
Or if I was looking at compost or mulch or soil at a big home store, and I was looking to take that home and put it in my garden, how could I know that this was not actually like viable until I'd put plants in it and then gone an entire season and then my plants didn't work out?
So in the past, all you could do is simply what you're saying, just go put it on your plants and hope it worked. But now we've actually come up with a really cool test that you can actually test your compost, your mulch, and your soil to make sure you're actually amending the right things.
This is something I'm so excited about for beginner gardeners or advanced gardeners, because while I personally am really interested in the science, I think that science can kind of get in the way of people feeling like gardening is as easy as it actually is. For 12 years, I told people don't bother with soil tests because the tests that we used to have access to, like, literally didn't give us any actual useful information.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever tested the soil, so I don't know exactly what's in it, but probably a good idea to do that, I guess.
You guys just developed a test that literally will test exactly what's available to your plant.
Otherwise, you're just kind of guesstimating and, you know, just throwing stuff at it, hoping it fixes the problem, which isn't a good way to do things.
In whatever you have, not just like what might be there that a plant might not be able to use.
Correct. Like most soil tests, you'd either get a piece of paper and you'd be like, okay, I have no clue how to use this information, or it would be almost too basic and you're like, okay, now I know my pH and that's it.
Yeah. And even just for anyone here who's ever been confused by soil pH, let me just tell you right now that like using a pH test to test your soil is a quick way to ruin your garden in a hurry, because you could add a whole lot of stuff that's really expensive to buy, even organically, and fix the pH without actually fixing what's available to your soil. So let's go back to the farm and take some tests.
Let's see how you've done.
All right. All right, Carson, before we actually leave, every time I come back to the forest, I take some leaves with me, because leaves are like the best cheap free mulch. They break down really quickly and they add a lot of just like layers of good stuff to the soil. There's actually a bunch of weeds that I don't want in these leaves, so we'll just pop back here where there's less and get some of these.
Perfect.
Oh, look at all this mycelium. Woo! Oh, this is what we want to take back to the garden. All right, Carson.
Yeah, mycelium, that's a fungus.
Take our bounty from the woods. Howdy, this is not a snack for you, although I'm sure you'll try to sample it. Don't trip on my tripwire.
Okay, I'll try not to.
Hey, John, test me, buddy. All right, Carson, truly, I think that like there are a few things that make my garden really work. Like one of them is definitely compost. This is like your classic 3-bin system. You've probably seen stuff like this. There's nothing fancy or different about mine, except that I just kind of try to understand some simple science. It's like compost comes down to greens and browns. Greens are anything that was recently alive or inside a living thing. So manure, you know, green vegetables, anything else. And browns are literally things that used to be alive and now aren't. So like dead tree parts, sawdust, straw, newspapers, cardboard, leaves. And, you know, there's all kinds of stuff in here. Wood chips, ash from my fireplace.
Wow, I like this 3-bin system she's got set up here. I've never actually built something like this. This looks legit. Need to maybe do something like that at some point.
All kinds of donkey manure and other flavored manure, kitchen scraps, wood chips or wood shavings from the wood shop, eggshells, spent hay.
She got chicken wire around it to help hold it in. That's a good idea. Only thing I'll say about that is chicken wire does tend to rust when it's exposed, especially if it's exposed to. It's got a lot of manure in it. It's going to be kind of acidic, and it's going to cause the chicken wire to rust quicker. So, and just the moisture in compost. If you're composting right, it's pretty moist. So.
That the cows have wasted. All right, here we are in some finished compost, and we know it's done because there's nothing recognizable. But like even tell everyone what's going to happen with this.
Perfect. So you're going to register your test online, send it in, and when your results come back, it comes back with an option to be able to see like chemical fertilizers that you want to use.
She's got quite the homesteader. She got chickens running around. She got the compost pile. She got hoop houses, it looks like. Had a donkey even. Quite the setup.
fertilizers you want to use, or we can give you some options on how to just amend your soil the natural way. And that's why it's a great tool to actually test your compost, so you can compare your compost to what your soil has going on and kind of make a match that way.
I think it's important to mention I'm not sponsored by Redmond. I literally just wanted to nerd out with another soil scientist. And I also wanted to tell you that this took 4 years. It took 4 years of observation and careful planning and knowledge that I'd gained over the last decade to be able to create this. But you can do this really quickly. You don't need chemicals. You don't need organic fertilizers or pesticides or fungicides. You need to look at how nature takes care of itself. And what will be revealed in this test will help you to get the secret weapon to fast forward your process. So that if you're buying soil and starting your garden for the first time this year, it's there. You can have this kind of result in year one. If you are starting a garden for the first time and you want to fast forward your way to success, check out my Lazy Gardener's Beginner Guide on my Squarespace website, annofalltrades.com. Squarespace has been supporting my channel for the last 5 years, making videos like this free for you to watch and possible for me to make. I'm a farmer. I am not super tech savvy. So having a beautiful artist design template that I can easily drag and drop anything that I want to share with you and then share it with you is hugely important to me. Squarespace gives me the option to have an online store where I can sell my online classes, my merchandise, keep you updated about what's going on with the School of All Trades. And if you're interested in starting a website of your own, you have a big idea you want to share with the world, check out Squarespace. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AnnofAllTrades for a 10% discount. And if you are just started gardening or you've been doing it for a while and you're kind of stuck and need a little extra help or accountability, or you want to meet some other gardening friends around you, be on the lookout for my Lazy Gardening course, which will happen in real. And it was exactly what this very nerdy heart needed. A little validation and hard data to look at. If you've seen any of the videos that I've posted in this garden in peak growing season, it probably is not that surprising to find out that my soil is in fact very well balanced. But in going over my test results, Carson recommended that I run a few experiments in the garden this year with a couple different products. So I'm going to put this in a couple garden beds, and I'm going to put this in a couple other garden beds, and then I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing in some others, and I will report back as we go. I have more than a sneaking suspicion that if you were to add either one of these products here to your garden, it will probably be a whole lot more helpful than any other chemical, organic approved or not, that you could add to your garden. So let's grow good food together this year. I hope you stay tuned, and I will definitely be reporting back on the results of this next experiment soon. Cheers.
All righty, that's the end of that video. All right, what do you guys think? Should I keep the stream going? Got 3 a.m. here. Wow. Could keep the stream going, or I could end on a high note like that. That seemed like a positive place to end it. Let's see. Next video I got to that I was interested in watching was a little bit disturbing. Just a heads up. I think we'll take another little break here real quick. All right, and we're back. I got a comment on here. Good evening, Zombie Bomb. All right, I guess I'll keep going for a little bit. Got one more video I'm going to show. This is I had it in the description. This is an exorcist talking about his encounters with Satan. So just a heads up, it's a little bit disturbing, a little bit, kind of gave me the chills a little bit. So if any of y'all are a little squeamish out there, don't want to hear about that, I don't blame you if you feel like leaving. If you want to bounce, that's all right. But then I'm going to continue with the Bible reading that I started last week or 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. I'll continue, just do one more chapter from Corinthians and from Hosea after that, and then we'll call it a show, I think. Where'd it go? Ah, here it is. Come on, what are we doing?
You've had repeat customers in exorcisms, and I don't mean the person, I mean the demon.
Correct.
Through different people.
Right.
How do you recognize? Is it facial? Is it or is it patterns of speech, activities?
Sometimes it depends on the particular demon. So, in my own personal experience, anytime I've dealt with Satan, he always manifests the same way.
And by Satan, you mean like the kingpin, like Lucifer?
If you're talking about
what's the way?
It is generally there's kind of a severity, and it's actually kind of somewhat nondescript. He's the father of lies, so the way you primarily discern him is he just lies at everything, even when it would go better for him, he's still gonna lie. He's that wed to lying. Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty devoted to keeping the character up. If it would be better for you to tell the truth and you can't, that's apparently Satan. Sounds like the Satan I know, I'm familiar with from the Bible. What else was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say the only reason that this video kind of, when I saw it pop up on my feed and I ended up watching it, just going off of what Sun Tzu said about knowing your enemy as you know yourself and not being afraid of 100 battles. And well, we are kind of in supernatural warfare, and you know, I'm on one side and Satan's on the other, so kind of have to understand the enemy a little bit. So I figured an exorcist is probably a kind of an expert on that kind of subject. I think this guy's a Catholic priest, if I remember right.
Beelzebub, which is also another name for Satan, because there's three, which I can tell you why that is, but Beelzebub, which is another name for Satan. We actually see that in Scripture, because Christ, they tell Christ, we think you're casting out demons by the power of Beelzebub, and then he just turns it and says, how can Satan cast out Satan? So he turns that, which is a revelatory to us that these are actually the same guy. The fathers of the church all say they're the same guy. They also say that Lucifer is the same guy. So Satan, Lucifer, and Beelzebub are the same guy. But the interesting thing is though that they manifest very differently. So as I mentioned, Satan is pretty nondescript, but he's a habitual liar. But when you get to Beelzebub, he manifests in a very distinctive way in every case I've ever had him. Lucifer, on the other hand, will never manifest the same way in any case I've ever seen him, which I've seen him in about 4 or 5 cases. So you just never see him in the same way.
That's bizarre that there's 3 personalities, but it's all the same, entity.
It's real shifty, kind of Loki-like, right?
Yes, exactly.
Always.
Part of it is that he is basically the way it came out, which I've mentioned in other conferences. It's actually in the priest version of the book. It's not in the lay version of the book. Is at a certain point I had Beelzebub in a case, and at a certain point during the session, God commanded him to tell me something, and just out of the blue, he just looks at me and he says, "I'm the inversion of the Holy Ghost," and then boom, he checks out. I couldn't get him back to the surface.
Wow.
I'm like, what does that even mean? And I had known from my research and studies, and that 2 things. One is that exorcists say they manifest differently, and so they actually thought they were different demons. And then, but the fathers of the church are very clear. Oh, no, he's the same guy. So I'm like, well, how does this work?
Lucifer, Beelzebub,
and
Satan are all the same guy. 3 expressions.
Yeah. So then I started asking Our Lady of Sorrows, what am I seeing, right? And then it just clicked. I think she gave me the grace. So in the next session, I referred to him as the 3rd personality of Satan. And all of a sudden, boom, he just stopped. He was stunned. And it was kind of one of those Hollywood couldn't produce kind of expressions.
Yeah.
He was stunned, fearful. Okay, now the gloves are coming off, the whole bit. I mean, it's just this whole complexion of things. And I said, was the trifurcation of your personality the punishment for wanting to be God? And he wouldn't answer. So as we
That'll
say,
be a yes.
yes, yeah.
Check,
Usually, if
please.
they're not going to say anything, that's true. Otherwise, he would just said no.
It's like
but,
my kids, Did
Yeah.
you do it? Oh, silence is a yes.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah. So later he said yes, it was, and I said, and
Wow.
Lucifer is the second personality of Satan, the inversion of Christ, who's light from light, because Lucifer means light bearer, and he said yes. And Satan is the inversion of the first personality because he's the father of lies. His inversion of father. I said. So then I asked him, was this trifurcation of your personality? And then, as I mentioned, it was the punishment for wanting to be God. And then he said yes. Basically, God split his personality as a punishment.
Wow.
Wow. There's a whole other set of facets that go along with that. But that's actually why. And then I found out through later research that there was actually cases in the past that had come up in the past. It was just not a piece of knowledge that was passed on it's in the literature, but you'd have to dig for it.
Wow.
All right, we can close that out. Pretty powerful stuff. All righty. Comments. All right, we're going to do 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and Hosea 3. Just do that real quick and then I'll end the stream. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, concerning food sacrificed to idols. Now about food sacrificed to idols, we know that... All right, I was just looking at it on my phone. It just changed. All right, let me start that over. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. Now concerning food sacrificed to idols. Now about food sacrificed to idols, we know that we all possess knowledge, but knowledge puffs up while love builds up. Those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know, but whoever loves God is known by God. So then, about eating food sacrificed to idols, we know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. For even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came and for whom we live. And there is but one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom all things came and through whom we live. But not everyone possesses this knowledge. Some people are still so accustomed to idols that when they eat sacrificial food, they think of it as having been sacrificed to a god. And since their conscience is weak, it is defiled. But food does not bring us near to God. We are no worse if we do not eat, and no better if we do. Be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block to the weak. For if someone with a weak conscience sees you, with all your knowledge, eating in an idol's temple, won't that person be emboldened to eat what is sacrificed to idols? So this weak brother or sister for whom Christ died is destroyed by your knowledge. When you sin against them in this way and wound the weak conscience, you sin against Christ. Therefore, if what I eat causes my brother or sister to fall into sin, I will never eat meat again, so that I will not cause them to fall. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. That's probably where a lot of vegetarians get the idea that being vegan or vegetarian is biblical. You can certainly live that way if you feel convicted to live that way. But yeah, interesting. I didn't realize that's where they get that. That's probably where Seventh-day Adventists get that from, because they're all vegetarian. for the most part. All right, that's the end of that one. Let us go to what are we doing? Stop that. Thought it would let me just go to the next one, but all right. Hosea chapter 3. Hosea's reconciliation with his wife. The Lord said to me, Go show your love to your wife again, though she is loved by another man and is an adulteress. Love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, though they turn to other gods and love the sacred raisin cakes. So I bought her for 15 shekels of silver and about a homer and a lethek of barley. Then I told her, You are to live with me many days. You must not be a prostitute or be an inmate with any man, be intimate with any man, and I will behave the same way toward you. For the Israelites will live many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred stones, without ephod or household gods. Afterward, the Israelites will return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. They will come trembling to the Lord and to his blessings in the last days. Like Hammerhand says, there are no bad red pills in this book. And I think with that, we are going to call this a show. Hope you all enjoyed it. I got to get to bed. I got to get up in the morning and go to work. Peace out.